the first interview for 2024. Rob here, President of Way Out West Roots Music Club. This coming Sunday, February the 4th, from 2 p.m, we have the fabulous PhilPara in the house. If you like guitar, you will love the PhilPara trio. Hendrix, Clapton, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Muddy Waters, and of course Santana have all shaped a PhilPara show. Please hit the like and subscribe button as it helps me out a lot. So sit back and enjoy my chat with Phil. And we hope to see you at the club this Sunday. Tickets are available from our website, Way Out West Roots Music Club, and available at the door. So see you Sunday and rock on, my friends. Tell us about where you grew up in New Zealand, and was music a big part of that early life? Because I do believe you were playing in a band with your mum and dad at a very early age.
Yeah. That's when I first started off there, when I was pretty young. Little country town in New Zealand, in the North Island, middle of the North Island. But my mum played piano. She was a pianist, and my dad played guitar, saxophone, bit of violin, and clarinet and stuff. He was multi-instrumentalist, really, and stuff. But the instruments weren't that good. The guitar I had to learn on was I don't even know what it was. I'm pretty certain after a while I found out it might have been a Hofner, an acoustic Hofner, that he put a pickup in it, and I learned a bit of stuff on that. I was pretty young. From 5 years to 7 years old, I was messing around with them in the lounge room, playing things, and they finally thought I was good enough to go out with them to the little gigs they had, and all sorts of wool sheds, churches, all sorts, being in a country town. It's just, all sorts of venues you got to play in. Quite an adventure.
I believe the Hofner guitars, they were pretty prominent in the Beatles' early days.
Yeah. Well, they were stationed in Germany, weren't they? In the early before the Beatles. I think they were called some Silver Beatles or something, whatever they were called. And they had that other member with them. That I think it was Stuart Sutcliffe or somebody like that. I think
Stuart Sutcliffe was there. So was Pete Best at some stages.
Pete Best, yeah. So those days, I think the Hofners might have been around since then, and I just recognised the headstock. When I come over here, I come across a couple of them Hofners, and I actually bought one myself once, and the headstock had that shape to it, and this one was the same. So I thought, well, it had all been, sanded down, and some glitter was just thrown over it, and this paint and stuff like that was a mess. And that's what I had to learn on. Those black diamond strings were like fencing wire. You couldn't bend them, and the solos and everything, which I later on found out I could get, put them on, and it was a lot easier to play. It was a heck of a guitar.
And so one of your really big influences was Jimi Hendrix, hearing him on the radio. Why did you gravitate towards Jimmy?
I know, it's just like an old story from some famous guitarist that say, my mate brought this album over, and it was Jimi Hendrix, and it was Hey Joe, and it blew me away. And the same thing happened to me. I just had a friend just in the next street over, and he bought the first album. Yeah, but I heard this song Hey Joe on the radio anyway. It was being played, and it was just out there. I just thought, wow. The guitar playing was something else, which is what they say he done, and which he did, I guess, psychedelic the blues up. It was just blues, but that he made it something special, and great player. I was still playing drums at the time then. I started off on the drums and went to the guitar later on, but I didn't have a drum kit in the house, so that's probably why I took up the guitar and other instruments I tried to play. But because the Beatles are around, I just want to be Ringo, and I bought all these cheap rings and a Beatles plastic wig and the pointy shoes and everything, and actually done some gigs and that stuff as a kid, and the grown-ups loved it. They thought I was good, going to the gigs with mum and dad and playing Ringo. But and then so Dad thought, you got a bit of a beat going on there. He sent away to a shop in Auckland for a kick drum and a snare, and I got those, and the rest I tried to make up a full kit out of paint tins and stuff like that to make some rack toms and stuff. They didn't sound too good, but it looked all right. So yeah, but then Hendrix came along. That was the thing. I was into playing the drums and thought I saw this is what I want to do. But then Hendrix came along and turned it upside down, of course, and I took more to the guitar, that silly old Hofner, and tried to get some Hendrix out of that thing, which was terrible. To no avail could I get any Hendrix sounding out of that thing. But yeah, that was the. I thought, no, I'll persevere with this. It's it was pretty enjoyable getting some things right, and yeah, and that old guitar, but and I just kept up with it. But yeah, it's basically, it was like my first gig was probably 7 years old, playing the drum kit with mum and dad. Yeah. And the guitar, well, that sort of followed along both together a bit, and then the drums just, because it was easier with guitar. I couldn't even when I was a teenager, cart a drum kit around without a car, but the guitar could. So yeah, went more to the guitar and stayed on it for a while.
And when did you make the move over to Oz? You didn't come over with family; you came over with friends. And where did you stay? Because you didn't come straight to Melbourne either, did you?
No. Geez, you know more about it. Yeah, a friend of mine came back from Perth. Well, he was working in Western Australia and on the iron ore mines up there, and whatever he was doing. He came back and he bought a charger back with him, brand new, out of the box, bloody, the old charger, Valiant charger, 6-pack. And we just went, oh, wow, yeah, great. But I think he just brought it back to show us, us guys that back there was just struggling away with what we're doing musically in a little country town, to show us that, you should come to Australia. It's pretty good, work. They like rock and roll over there. It's just, you might find it a bit easier playing music over there. So I decided to come over with him, and a couple of other mates came with me. We went to Perth first. And then we drove up to Western Australia to where he was, thinking that we were going to get a job up there. Not as musicians either. It's just with him. But I had an afro way out here, and I couldn't get a job anyway. And he says, you won't get a job with that haircut, with that hair, unless you get it cut. And because I didn't know what sort of work it was anyway. And I couldn't have done it anyway where they were working. But I did find a guy that was working with him who played drums, an Asian guy. And one of my mates that came over and he decided to play a bit of bass. He was a guitarist too, but he says, I'll get a bass and we'll form a 3-piece. And so we got a little 3-piece band going. That was in Dampier and Port Hedland and around that area. And yeah. So yeah.
I do know a bit about you because I've got all Pauline Bailey's books.
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
So
yeah, that's right. I've done it. Yeah, that's right. So yeah.
So I always like to find out a little bit. In it, you actually said part of the quote is the blues is something you feel. Can you expand on that a little bit more?
Well, yeah, as you feel the blues. I mean, it's like with hardship, blues comes. So we're a pretty poor family when I was a kid, and it was pretty tough. With my dad being a very ill man, he had a few issues. So we're in and out of hospitals all over the North Island with my dad and stuff like that. So I guess you feel the blues through hard times, as they say, and even then, you can get up and play and have a bad night. It seems to, for people, it seems to come out better because I'm not aware of it. But when you're playing, I try not to think too much about it. It's blues. I don't think when you play it, if you think too much about it, you seem to stuff up every time. I found that out for myself anyway. But I don't give a stuff, and play a gig, and you just think, oh, I'm just going to have a good time. It comes out the way you want it, pretty much. It's something I'm a self-taught guitarist, so it's hit and miss.
Well, it's more hit than miss every time I've seen you, Phil.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Robert. That's what I like to say. Every gig's different, and just want to get through with that. The other night, you can be prepared as much as you want to be through the day. Got to the gig the other night, no plectrum. Simplest thing. What am I going to do now? And so my son says, I've got one here, but he used a different gauge. I thought, I threw out the night. It was just terrible to play. But anyway, simple thing like that, you wouldn't think. Yeah. That's the
Now,
blues.
we all know that Jimmy was a major influence on you, but what about some of the other players you took a fancy to?
Yeah, well, Eric Clapton was another one. Just great feel, great songs, great songwriter, and yeah, at the same time, and those guys. I saw Black Sabbath when I was about 17. They came to New Zealand on a tour back then. That would have been late 60s because they came here too as well. That tour, I don't know what it was, what tour it was.
Yeah,
The Aussie bands were on it too. I think Eagle Rock, Ross Wilson, and what were they called? Daddy Cool. Over there. I never got to see them because they were on in the afternoon, I think. And I got there at night. But I thought they were an American band at the time because Eagle Rock was pretty great song. Loved that song. And I thought, oh, it sounded a bit of Rolling Stones in there, a bit of, I don't know, the guitars, a bit of ZZ Top style. Great playing from Ross Hannaford. And wow, it's an American band. But no, it was Aussie band, Daddy Cool. And that tour, and I think Black Feather were there. I think Black Feather, I know it might have been another concert there in New Zealand. But yeah, I saw Black Sabbath, and that was a good concert because you were right up on the stage. I was sitting on the stage like this, watching. He's right up in the field. I touched his shoe at one stage. He just looked down and smiled. I was waiting for a kick in the teeth.
You're right about that, Phil, because that tour obviously came to Australia, and I remember, I think it probably would have been about 70 or 71. They played at Kooyong, and I seen Black Sabbath, and yeah, man, that just blew me away. That was just brilliant.
Yeah, they took a while to come on stage, and I don't know what it was. I think they ended up coming on anyway. I heard a bit of arguing going on behind stage. Everybody was starting to get restless for them to come on. It really took over an hour or something, and then they came out with all these amplifiers. I don't think they had enough equipment, enough amplification. And I saw some more trucks rolling in beyond the stage and a whole lot of stuff going on. It was just like everybody's in a panic. I thought it was, and then they ended up with all these New Zealand amplifiers, Holden Wasps, and from one side of the stage to the other, it was like about like 10 stacks, something like that. And they came on, it was just magic. It's just loud. Yeah, they took a while to come on. I think I could hear a lot of arguing going on at the back of the stage. I think I might have, unless I'm wrong, but to take that long, unless they're just making us hang out, I don't know. But to have to come out, I would have thought Marshalls, for sure, and it was New Zealand amplifiers, Holden Wasps, and there was quite a few because the other bands didn't have quite as many as those amps. They might have ordered it.
You just mentioned Eric Clapton, and having read that book, we both have something in common because I was a really big fan of the Howlin' Wolf sessions in London, and I think there's another album with Muddy Waters doing a similar thing. After hearing those two,
Howlin' Wolf too.
Yeah, Howlin' Wolf is the one we're talking about, but there is one with Muddy. But that was the first time I heard the blues and started really exploring, where all that music came from. Why was that album so influential for you, the Howlin' Wolf in London?
Oh, well, they were, I didn't know this till later, but they were all mad on, the American blues. They couldn't wait for another guy like Muddy or Howlin' Wolf to come out. Those guys are being guitarists and lovers of the blues. And so a lot of tracks on that. Smokestack Lightning, and just amazing for those times. And you think, well, Clapton wasn't that, they were all in their early 20s, It's amazing. We've got it here too now. The young guitarists at that age, and they're just mind-blowing players. There's a lot of fast players, a lot of that going on, but there's a lot of field players too that grasped hold of it and got it, understood it. It's the hard thing. The blues is everyone thinks, oh, it's just 3 chords and 12 bar, away you go. Well, that's the basics of it, but it goes beyond that. I think it's the person themselves behind the music that make it something special, like Jimmy did with it. I don't know, he wasn't psychedelic before he left America, and until he got there, he had to have something, and I think he came up with that and started just really, I think psychedelic blues.
B.B. King, I think, said that The blues is very simple music, but it's very hard music to play.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's all about feelings, isn't it? That's like I say, if you've lived a hard life, well, that's and you've got music in you, it's got to come out
Yeah.
that way, and yeah, it's
Now you had the distinction of having probably the longest residency of any musician in Australia when you held down the ESPY for well over 20 years. That must have felt like home every time you went there.
yeah. It was every week, but I was working there before I started the Saturdays there. That lasted like 40 years. But before that was other bands, and Spot the Aussie was another one. But Craig Reeves and myself, it started off as a 4-piece. We were given a Sunday afternoon to work on, and he says, Craig says, we've got a Sunday afternoon. I've got a Sunday afternoon, and let's do something. He called it Spot the Aussie, and he wanted me to play guitar. So it was myself, Dougie McDonald, another Kiwi guy, is a really excellent singer, great singer and drummer. He played drums and sang with the band, and Les Goff was the bass player. So it started off with four of us, and it ended up being just a really good band for other musicians to sit in too as well. We had Chris Stockley, we had Martin Hope, guitarists all over the place, and people were getting up for a jam we didn't expect when we got to the gig. Oh, so-and-so's come down today. I mean, some special players got through to have a jam on that Sunday afternoon. Then it expanded to a bigger band, and it, just went from there. Steve,
a great mutual friend of ours was Tony Bishop involved doing some sound. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tony used to mix Spot the Aussie. It mixed me too at the ESPY and stuff. And he was with you too at way out west.
Long time. Yeah, we'll try and get him down for the gig. He's become a bit of a hermit of late. We don't get to see him.
Okay. Yeah. I spoke to Tony a while back. Yeah, it'd be good to see him again, him and Suzette.
Yeah. Now, I know you don't class yourself strictly as a blues player. You like to get out and stretch yourself a little bit in other areas as well?
Well, I play a bit of rock, it's just like the Cream songs and the rock style songs. They're all blues oriented, aren't they? It's I like all styles of music. I like reggae. I like Santana's stuff. I like experimenting with that. It's good to get away from the usual blues stuff that I do. And come back to it. But who doesn't like Jeff Beck? I mean, geez, I've got a couple of things that stay with you after listening to Blow by Blow and all his other albums and that. But that was one of my favorite, and the tones and stuff on it, and it's just raw, and it's just it's not overproduced. It's just great. It's produced really well for what it is. It's just and it gives me ideas. We listen to it all the time, my son and I, and there's some ideas in there. I think I could put something together as a tribute to Jeff. It'd be great because it's sort of jazz, jazz. And I think because I feel like Jeff got a lot of that from Jimmy too, as well, by seeing him on stage, because they were friends, and he'd go and watch Jimmy and stand side of stage and watch him. Because I'm pretty certain, though, because of the times meet, and the time that he finished with the Yardbirds, he'd had to, come up with something, and that's what he came up with. And maybe it was just watching Jimmy side of stage to manipulate the tremolo, whammy bar, and what's his style of playing. I think it may have given a good idea to go, okay, I want to sing through the guitar.
I think a lot of the great British guitarists seen Hendrix for the first time and said, boy, we've got to lift our game here if we're going to stay in that league.
Yeah, well, Clapton and Townshend, the old story is that they went to the movies to talk about Jimmy and said, what are we going to do about him? I mean, right. what are you going to do? Join him. They were great guitarists in their own right themselves. They were just, worried. But you got to remember, they were only young, in their 20s. And so everybody's watching each other. And Eric's got some great chops and great, and Stevie Ray comes along, and then they all get blown away again. And, so Clapton said he just never stopped. And the whole time he had to know, who is this guy? He just doesn't stop. And Stevie was like that. But it is amazing. You got to think, as a guitarist, he overplays but it's not overplaying. It's just right. It's just all there. That's his style. That was the way it was. But geez, he had some great feel too when he played stuff like Lenny. God, amazing. Yeah.
You mentioned before some of the younger guys on the scene, both here and overseas, that we hope are going to keep the blues going for us. Is there anyone in particular you've seen of late or heard of?
Local?
Local or overseas?
Oh, there's so many, and you know, I'm out of touch too with a lot of it right now. Right, Rob, I'm not on the computer as much and watching stuff. My son shows me a lot of stuff. Yeah, a lot of great players. You know, just can't pick any names right now. But there's so many of them. You know, Joe Bonamassa. You know, I mean, but he's not young either. There's younger guys than him that are just as good. Yeah.
I've seen a couple of them recently in New Orleans. Kingfish,
Christopher
and Marcus King. They're two that, boy, have they got their.
Philip Seiss too. Is he a young guy or is he older?
Christine.
Philip Seiss.
Oh no, I don't know. I'll have to go and have a look at him. I'm not sure about him.
Some nice stuff from him, but I think he might be an older player, not a really young guy. Yeah. But you know, there's so many of the young guys now that just even right down to 13-year-olds and 14-year-old kids playing. I saw a couple of things there. I can't remember the names, but they've gotten up with a buddy guy or something like that, and they let them have a play, and you just go, wow, it sounds like an older player, and he's just learned it, just got the feel and everything. So, up and coming.
Now, COVID was a terrible time for all of us, but even more so for musicians. And you also had a very bad health scare not that long ago. But with those two events, did that change your outlook on music and performance?
Sorry, change my what?
Your outlook on music and performance.
What affected me through it was not being able to gig. You know, it's frustrating. We were lucky because we Denzel and I, my son, we streamed through on Facebook through COVID and to make a living, and we were lucky we could do that. And I pretty much had to, So I was still able to play, which has kept me going, which is good to to be able to still play and get something out there. But it was different, and I thought, geez, I'm having problems here playing. Getting back, playing stuff, because there was a time when we weren't doing much, but just that, just streaming, and then the next few days we'd have to do whatever we had to do, and there was not much playing and doing all that stuff we had to do. But at least we still were able to play, because a lot of musicians were just sitting at home and getting frustrated, and we were frustrated too, even though we were still playing and making a living out of it, which we were very lucky to be able to do, because we've got enough Facebook friends too to get through. But a lot of other musicians didn't, so we sort of try to look out for that too, my wife and I. It was okay if we all just stick together and get through these hard times. We can do it. My dad's father died in the 1918 pandemic, and he told me a few stories that scared the crap out of me when I was a kid. I never forgot it. So it was comforting to know in these times. I never thought I'd be going through that same thing. But what it did tell me was that we're in these modern times, and we've got telephones, we've got iPads and computers and stuff. We've got contact. I started thinking about 1918. Wouldn't have been any phones in homes, and not too many doctors around, and in special places you had to travel a long way from a country town to get to see a doctor and stuff. My dad's dad came home on a horse already dead, and they tried to keep him away from going up to see his dad for the last time on the horse, because they said, no, this is, you can't come, he'll catch it too and spread it. So, oh, okay, spread it. Yeah, right. Okay. And that's why we all needed to know that we were safe. We were safe in a lot of ways, because we got the best doctors. We got modern technology on our side. So just stay cool, take your medicine, shut up and play your guitar. So this sort of stuff, what he told me sort of I kept thinking about it through COVID. So, well, we're okay. You know, we're not in a third world country where some of those places are going to get it a lot harder than we are.
Yeah.
So if we all just look after each other, it's pretty simple.
That's right. Exactly right. Well, yeah, well, we got to do a lot of reading and listen to a lot of music, and so
Yeah, a lot of good things come out of it too. That's what you mean.
yeah.
It's a lot of things have happened, but it's take a while to get back.
Yep.
Pop again.
So it must be such a buzz for you to have Denzel play in the band with you.
Yeah.
Will Denzel be joining us on February the 4th at Way Out West?
Yep.
And you'll have one other player with you as well,
Yep.
normally a trio?
I've got Jason the Hill playing bass this time. Last year I had Denzel's on drums again. He was with us last year.
Fantastic.
Great gig last year. You know, it was we're still in tough times too. I think we're just coming out of it, sort of, weren't we? Last year, like getting through a few stages of COVID, and we're still lingering around. But yeah, that was a good gig.
Yeah. Now we're really looking forward to it, mate.
We are too.
I really do appreciate yourself and Denzel and Heather for coming on board in such a short time. Clayton Dolly was coming down to play,
Oh,
but
right.
because Jimmy Barnes had all the heart problems and Jimmy's pianist, and he didn't want to go on the road until he knew what was going on.
Oh, right.
And I thought, and people keep asking me because where we were driving in a car somewhere and you came on the radio and I just found out about Clayton. Oh, we're coming back from the market and it was on PBS or Triple R,
Yeah.
and we're going, I'll ring Heather, but let's get Phil down because he's always a good one for us. So,
Yeah.
so we do appreciate it, mate.
Yeah, thanks. Likewise, Rob. Thanks. We enjoy playing out there.
Yeah.
It's